Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. So very happy to be with you today. Hope you are feeling refreshed today. The seasons are changing. I've been in a couple of different time zones in the past few days, and depending upon where I was, it was one season or another. It was spring in Sun Valley, Idaho. I spent most of last week in Sun Valley, Idaho at a retreat for a wonderful organization that I've been working with called Kahila. And we were in the mountains. There were actually snow capped mountains where we were, which is amazing in June to have snow capped mountains. And now I'm in New York City, and it is summer, and it is hot, and it is humid, and that's how it's supposed to be in June. It's not too humid yet. It's beautiful outside. In both places, the sun was shining brightly, and we just had a wonderful time being in the company of nature while in the mountains, walking, hiking, uh, up alongside a waterfall. So I want to say to all of you, I'm a city girl. I'm truly a city girl. And this time it was so interesting because here we were, all of us outdoors, going on these bonding experiences where we were hiking. We even did a blindfold activity where literally there was a group of about 16 of us who were all blindfolded in the woods, and we were touching each other's shoulders and walking a path. And it was an exercise in trust, in communication, in silent communication, and in really coming to be at peace with yourself and with the moment. Climbing up the mountain was paying attention in a very specific way to your surroundings, to your footing, to what's ahead of you. There was a lot of paying attention in different kinds of ways than, at least for me, being a city girl, than I'm doing on a daily basis. I pay a lot of attention, but it's different. It's more to people who are in my path, and to cars, and to different kinds of sounds. When we were standing still, when we were doing the blindfold exercise, at a certain point, we were invited to just be still and put our hands down at our sides. Again, blindfolded, out in nature, but seeing nothing. And we were instructed to listen to nature. And it was beautiful. There was uh, a body of water, a narrow body of water, and you could hear the water flowing. There was a lot of water flowing. They had 4 days of rain, so there was just a lot of water. And you could hear the water flowing. And then you could hear birds, but very intentional, different types of birds. The chirping of the birds was different depending upon the size and variety of bird. You could hear the wind blowing in the leaves. Because no one was moving at that point, you couldn't hear the crackle of the leaves underfoot. But when we started again, you could hear it because you had tuned in a little bit more closely to the moment. And in tuning into the moment, with your eyes closed, the other senses took on greater importance. So definitely the sense of sound became really important. The sense of smell became important, and touch. And all the while, when we were doing this walk blindfolded, we each of us was holding in our hand, it turned out to be a dry leaf. But we were told, as this was placed in our hand, that what we were holding in our hand was something that was very precious to us. And so during this walk, we were, on the one hand, when we took our physical hands off of the person's shoulder in front of us, our hands were put on a rope. The free hand was holding this dried leaf that we were told, think of this as the most precious thing in your life. And as the most precious thing in your life, you need to make sure that when you get to the end of this journey, that that precious item is intact. All right. You know what a dried leaf is like. Very fragile. Blindfolded, walking with one hand along a rope, in the woods. It was a very interesting exercise, an exercise in trust, in patience, in focus, and in being present. And one part of this exercise that I particularly uh, enjoyed was when we all stopped. We had been kind of struggling, moving forward, hands on shoulders. At first I was really gripping the shoulders of the person in front of me. After I realized, we're going to be okay, we're not going to fall, everything's good, my grip loosened. And then when we stopped, at first we had our hands on shoulders, and then one of the leaders came and invited me to put my hands by my side. And so there we all were, but really individually standing, feet planted on the earth, eyes closed, breathing naturally, just taking it all in, taking in the moment, taking in the moment in nature, in the company of fellow colleagues, some of whom we had just met, um, most whom we had just met in person because of COVID-19 and working through, like we're communicating right now, through a digital platform. It had been, up until that point and throughout the time we were together, quite an eye-opening experience, literally, because we are looking at each other and we can touch each other. We're not looking through a screen. So it was, we weren't using technology. We're using this moment outdoors in nature with each other. But in that moment of pause, we were one with ourselves, just breathing, just being. And that brought me to, the memory of that brought me to the focus for today's inspiration, which is taking time to pause. And I want to ask you, how often do you do that? How often in the course of your day, your week, your weekend, your month, how often do you pause? Ask yourself, how often do you pause? Do you stop, unplug? Oh, by the way, we also had no cell service. There was no way to connect with anyone other than the people we were with for about 12 hours. How often do you do that? How often do you disconnect from all of the ways that we can connect with other people and just sit with yourself? How often do you do that? We did it on several different, in several different ways. First was the technology just didn't work. We were up 9,000 feet above sea level, and there was no cell service climbing up that hill with us, that mountain with us. So we were disconnected in that way. And then beyond that disconnection, we put on the blindfold. And so there was another disconnection of sense, which forced us to pay closer attention to other senses and the connection to each other. And then the connection to each other was taken away when we put our hands at our sides. And it was then when we were standing still in nature, eyes closed, the sun kissing our shoulders and our faces, and just being still. I don't even know how long it lasted. It felt like about 5 minutes. It was definitely a few minutes when we were just standing and being present and still, pausing, pausing to pay attention to our surroundings, pausing to notice our breathing, pausing to just be one with that moment. How often do you do that for yourself? So I have this quote, I love finding quotes. I have this quote that I found that kind of speaks to the importance of pausing. It's from someone named Kristen Armstrong. And she says, it's not only moving that creates new starting points. Sometimes all it takes is a subtle shift in perspective, an opening of the mind, an intentional pause and reset, or a new route to start to see new options and new possibilities. All right, let me read that to you one more time. There's a lot in here. It's not only moving that creates new starting points. Hear that again. It's not only moving that creates new starting points. Sometimes all it takes is a subtle shift in perspective, a subtle shift in perspective, an opening of the mind, an intentional pause and reset, or a new route to start to see new options and new possibilities. So if you find yourself kind of one foot in front of the other, doing what you do every day, doing it at the speed of light, you know, you've got a checklist and you need to make sure that everything on that list gets crossed off because you are busy and it needs to get done. If you do that, well, you're like most people who think of themselves as being efficient. If you know me, you know I believe in a list. I believe in writing out the list in great detail. And then, after writing it out, checking it off all along the way. So I believe in that strongly. But I also understand that it can help tremendously to look at the list with fresh eyes, to make the list with fresh eyes, to look at something on your list that maybe has been there for a long time and you're like, this doesn't seem to be coming off of my list. I'm stuck. When you feel stuck, that's a time for you to pause and say, wait a minute, I need to look at this differently. Look at this with fresh eyes. Look at this from another perspective. And so Kristen Armstrong says it's not only moving that creates new starting points. Sometimes all it takes is a subtle shift in perspective, an opening of the mind, an intentional pause and reset, or a new route to start to see new options and new possibilities. I believe that one of the easiest ways for you to get that reboot, that intentional pause and restart, is through meditating. It's something that we've done many times here on Dreamleapers Inspiration together for just a few minutes. And you know you can meditate for a few minutes or for a long period of time. But even a few minutes can help to reset your being, to help you to be anchored in your own self so that then you can look out with fresh eyes, just in the same way as with closed eyes, we were able to look at our surroundings in a different way. So I'm going to lead us into a meditation now. And so I want to invite all of you to put your feet flat on the floor and sit up straight, but with your shoulders relaxed. You just want to sit and be still. You can put your thumb and four fingers together on your knees. I'm going to play a little music to help us. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes. Imagine yourself blindfolded in the way that I described. We did it to ourselves, so nobody forced us to do anything. We were all invited to take a cloth and tie it around our eyes. And what I did, because I could see a little light coming through, I just closed my eyes. For it was about a half hour that we did this exercise, and we just first stood still, got our bearing, then walked with our hands on each other's shoulders, walked deeper and deeper into the woods, and then we just stood. We allowed our hands to go to our sides. We just stood. Imagine yourself standing in the woods. Your feet are finding themselves into the ground, finding great footing by placing your feet firmly on the ground. Imagine yourself standing in the woods. Just as you hear the music, you can imagine hearing nature. Birds, water, wind, Just notice what's around you. Where you are right now, notice what's around you. Don't pay so much attention to it, just notice what's around you. Notice yourself. Notice your breath. And if you're breathing shallowly, I invite you to breathe a little deeper. Breathe with me. Breathe in deep. And as you do, imagine breathing in love and light. And breathe out long. Breathe out any discomfort you have in your body. And once again, breathe in love and light. See the light filling your body and hold that breath and then breathe out long, breathing out any discomfort that you may feel in your body, in your being. And one more time, breathe in deep. Imagine light filling your body as you breathe in, all the way from your toes to your head. And breathe out. Breathe out anything, any tension that's standing in the way of you being at ease. And now just breathe normally. Invite yourself to just be present in this moment. Allow yourself to pause right now in this moment. To pause and reset. Pause so that you pause everything. You pause your thoughts, you pause your plans, you pause your movement, you pause your vision. Close your eyes. If they're not closed, close them now, please. Allow only the inner vision to shine. Breathe. Breathe in light. Breathe out light. Surround yourself inside and outside with light. Allow that light to show you your refreshed path. When you pause, that's when you're able to see. That's when you notice the little things that you just didn't notice before because you were moving too fast. Like the music that you're hearing right now, or the sound of the water by the path, or the sound of birds, or even if you're in the city, the sound of vehicles. Whatever the sound may be, notice it. Don't let it distract you, just notice what's around you. And allow yourself to be still as you notice what's around you. Be really still. When you're really still, you often notice something that you didn't have any idea was even there before. It could be a moment of inspiration that can help you with the challenge in your life that you just have not been able to find a way to figure it out. When you pause, that's when you sometimes can see a doorway that you didn't even notice was there. You may notice a person who's been waiting to offer you support, and you just weren't paying attention. You may notice an action that's been on your to-do list that you put on the back burner, and now it's time to put in the front. You may notice a responsibility that you had completely forgotten about, or that had been burdening you, so you hid it away. And now you're ready to face it. In that moment of pausing, that's when you're able to see and to see another way forward. Sometimes when you are still, you create a new path of action. So I invite you, just notice as you breathe and you sit. Sit still in your own body. in your own being. As you sit still, notice the thoughts that are bubbling forth. Notice the images that are coming up. Pay attention. Don't hold on to them. Just notice what's coming up for you. Pay attention. Look with your inner eye. Whatever the thoughts are, notice them, but don't try to hold on to them. Let them pass. Whatever you're supposed to remember, trust that you will. Notice how it feels to pause with intention. Allow yourself to just be in this moment. Whatever you have to do can wait. Give yourself this moment to pause and be with yourself. Ask yourself, what do you need to see right now for your life? What is the path that you should be following right now? What is the path for you? What's on your list that you're ready to face? Very gently, I invite you to open your eyes. How do you feel? What I'd like for you to do right now is to write down whatever came up for you. The thought, the feeling, the intention, the responsibility, the action that you're about to take. Whatever came up, whatever bubbled forth during that time, write it down. Now's the time to capture it. What came up for you? What did that inner vision tell you that you want to do for yourself right now? Write it down. What happens in meditation, just that was such a little meditation, but what happens in meditation is that we open ourselves up to ourselves. We open ourselves up to that light inside that speaks to us. Just like when I was standing out there in the woods blindfolded. You know what happened to me? A city girl who I'm really not a woods person. I'm not a camper, none of that. What happened to me? I had this overwhelming feeling of peace and trust that it was okay to just be there and be still, that I didn't need to be anywhere else but where I was. I wasn't racing to figure out how I can check something else off of a list. I wasn't worried about the next steps and if I would trip. And I'm somebody who trips. I recently tripped and pulled my hamstring. I am a little bit clumsy, and I didn't feel clumsy in that moment at all. I felt very strong, felt very confident, and very comfortable in an uncomfortable place. You know, some people love being in the woods. I'm not one of those people, but I love that moment. And so I'm mentioning that to you because maybe in this moment, when we had this little mini meditation, maybe you don't usually feel comfortable meditating, but you did for those couple of minutes when we did that. Did you feel comfortable? Were you able to breathe yourself into a space of contentment within your own being? I want you to come to understand that feeling because it's very helpful in setting intentions and creating focus for yourself. You have to figure out how to let your mind slow down and get still. So, a pause, a real pause, taking time to pause in the best sense of the meaning, is not just physically being still, but it's mentally and spiritually being still. Being still, getting your mind and all the thoughts to slow down, allowing the breath to help you to be centered so that you can simply just be present. When you're able to slow your thoughts down to the point that they aren't overwhelming you, that's when wisdom bubbles forth. It's an amazing thing, and it really works. Wisdom comes forth when you allow it to break through the clutter, when you allow it to break through whatever is distracting you. And we fill our moments with so many distracting things. You know, this is Dreamleapers. I believe every single one of us has a dream. I believe every single one of us has a dream that's worthy of manifestation. And I am here to tell you that most of us do not manifest our dreams. Why? Lots of reasons, but among them is we're too busy doing other stuff that we don't give our dreams a chance to cultivate and manifest. Also, very often we don't think our dreams are worth anything. Oh, my dream could never grow to take care of me and my family. It just has to be this little thing that's over there in the corner. My dream. Why would my dream matter? I'm challenging you. Your dream matters. It does. It matters to you, and there's a very good chance it can matter to others. It can make a difference in others' lives. But if you don't take the time to pay attention, to get still, and figure out what that dream is in the first place, and then after you figure it out, concretize it, write it down, tell somebody, and then work on it, nurture it every day. Whatever came up for you today, I asked you to write it down. I hope you did. Now, for the next 7 days, pay attention to it. Give time to it every single day. What is this dream I had anyway? What is this message that came to me? What does it matter? How can I focus on this in a way to see where it will lead me? I interviewed Tyler Perry recently, and one of the things that he said he wanted to inspire other people to do, if they have a dream inside that's burning within them, he said, go for it, just so that you can see what happens. No promise of what's going to happen, but give yourself the gift of learning, seeing for yourself what may come of your dream if you dare to pay attention to it and nurture it. Isn't that great advice? He did not say, if you pay attention to your dream, if you nurture your dream, then you're going to be a billionaire like he is. He didn't say that. He said, if that feeling inside of you is burning and you just have to let it out, let it out. Nurture it, pay attention to it, just so you can see what manifests. So, this is what my charge to you for this week. Whatever came up for you in that meditation, I hope you wrote it down. You can go back and replay this broadcast and do the meditation again and again and again. Do the meditation. Harvest whatever comes up for you and then work on that. Cultivate it every day. I want you to spend an hour, but at least spend a few minutes every day nurturing that dream. I promise you something is going to come. See what comes. Like Tyler Perry said, see what comes. Whatever comes will show itself to you if you pay attention to it. And so I invite all of us to do this together. After that pause, what came up for you? Whatever came up, nurture it. Just so you can see. It's worth it for you to see what may manifest from your dream. You ready to do that? I really hope so. It is absolutely worth it. It's worth it for you, and it very well be worth it for more than you, for us too. I look forward to sharing what comes up for you. Feel free to share it on my page. And until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.